Good afternoon and welcome to the Douglas County Board of County Commissioners Land Use Meeting and Public Hearing. Today is Tuesday, January 26th, 2021. It is 2:38 in the afternoon. Would you all please stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you and welcome on a little snowy afternoon in Castle Rock to our public hearing. Are all items on today's agenda properly certified, Mr. Attorney?
Yes, Madam Chair. Items A and B each required specialized notice for today's hearing. Item A required published and posted notice. That was accomplished on December 24th and December 28th, respectively. Item B also required published and posted notice. That was also accomplished on December 24th and December 28th, respectively. Finally, item 2C did not require any specialized notice, but it was properly noticed under the open meeting laws for today's hearing. You have notice and jurisdiction on all items.
Thank you, Mr. Ingalls. On number 2 today, the public hearing agenda items, number A is the Rieta South Filing 1, Fourth Amendment. When I was reading through the packet the other night, I realized it talked about an SIA that needed to be approved before this item could be approved. I reached out to the county attorney. Mr. Ingalls, could you explain where we are on this matter?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for bringing that to my attention. We do have an approved SIA. It's approved as to form, and it's signed off on by the applicant. The only thing that still needs to happen is sign off by county staff. It does not need to come to the board for approval. So I can tell you we do have an approved agreement as we sit here right now.
And with that, it's okay to go ahead and proceed with this item?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Moving on to then Rieta South Filing number 1, Mike Pasica for staff.
So, point of order, Madam Chair. Did you want to determine if we had any conflicts?
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you, Commissioner Layden. Do any commissioners have any items of conflict on or disclosures for today's items?
I have none, Madam Chair. Thank you.
I have none either. Thank you, Commissioner Layden.
You're welcome.
I'm sorry, Mike.
No problem. Thank you, Chairman Thomas. Mike Pasica, representing Planning Services. The item before you this afternoon is a residential minor development final plat. The project number is SB 2020-038, and Brian Connolly of Otten Johnson, Robinson, Neff, and Reganetti is the applicant's representative and is in attendance today. The applicant is requesting a minor development final plat to subdivide a 140.96 acre parcel into 9 lots and 4 tracts and vacate and dedicate right-of-way for the realignment of Stroh Road. The proposed lots are approximately 2.5 to 3.8 acres in size and complement the existing lots that are adjacent on the south side of Preservation Trail. Approximately 93 acres will be set aside as open space with this final plat. In addition, a portion of right-of-way for the future extension of Stroh Road is being vacated and realigned with this plat. The intent of the minor development final plat process is to provide a streamlined review process for the creation of 10 or fewer single-family residential lots. The minor development plat process begins with a submittal of an application, following a review period by referral agencies and the public. Public hearings are held before the Planning Commission, followed by the Board of County Commissioners. There were no public comments received during the referral process for this application. The Planning Commission heard the proposal on January 11th, 2021, and recommended approval by a vote of 6-0. One person attended the virtual Planning Commission hearing and spoke in favor of the minor development final plat application. Take a look at the zoning map. The property is outlined in red, and it's zoned planned development within the Rieta South Planned Development Zone District. PD zoning lies to the south, east, and west, with rural residential and the town of Parker to the north and west. This is an aerial view of the project site. Again, the property is highlighted in red. It's located roughly 460 feet east of the intersection of South Parker Road and Stroh Road and extends north to Hilltop Road up in the right-hand corner of the aerial. The Legends High School property is north of the project site, just across Hilltop Road. And I do want to note the Butterfield subdivision, which borders this application to the west and to the north. And I also want to mention that the access for the Butterfield subdivision, which is currently also Stroh Road, will remain and will not change if this replat application is approved. And there are 12 single-family lots directly south along Preservation Trail that were platted with Riata South filing number 1. A little bit of background. The Riata South plan development was approved in 2000 for a maximum of 169 single-family residential dwelling units, a golf course, and 75% open space. In 2005, all 169 units were platted. In 2019, the Riata South PD 7th Amendment was approved for 11 residential units in Planning Area 1 and 55 single-family attached or detached units in Planning Area 13. The 9 lots today are in Planning Area 1. The amendment also reduced a portion of Open Space A. The Stroh Road extension, which we'll see on a following slide, was shifted slightly to the north as part of that PD amendment. This exhibit shows the proposed 9-lot subdivision. The red dots indicate where the new lots will be. The exhibit also shows the currently platted Stroh Road right-of-way, which winds through those proposed lots, and it will be shifted slightly to the north. And that new alignment is the approximate location is in yellow on this slide, and this will be dedicated to the county with this minor development final plat. This segment of the road is not improved, but will be constructed by Douglas County when warranted in the future. An open space buffer and easement is established between the new Stroh Road right-of-way and the 9 new lots as required by the 7th Amendment to the PD. And access to the 9 new lots will be from Preservation Trail. This exhibit shows the open space easement in an area highlighted in green. This to be dedicated to the county via the minor development final plat. A little bit of extra width has been provided with the Stroh Road right-of-way to allow for landscaping between the new road and existing lots within the Butterfield subdivision. Though that landscaping is not occurring with this final plat, that will be with a future plat. The red line on this slide shows the approximate location of the Kinney Creek Trail connection from Stroh Road down to the existing Kinney Creek Trail. This is an off-site improvement the applicant is required to do with this minor development, and that it came from the 7th Amendment to the PD approval in 2019. And this trail must be completed prior to the issuance of any building permits for this subdivision. Quickly look through some pictures. This is a view from Preservation Trail looking northwest through Planning Area 1. You might be able to see some homes in the background those are in the Butterfield subdivision. And this is from Preservation Trail looking straight north through Planning Area 13. And this looks west through Planning Area 13. In the right-hand side of the picture is the older Stroh Road, or I shouldn't even call it older Stroh Road. It's Stroh Road, but that's the road that will remain to provide access for the Butterfield subdivision. And one more picture, again looking north through Planning Area 13. In the distance on that picture is where the new Stroh Road right-of-way will eventually be located. And you might be able to make out some homes on the horizon on the left-hand side, and those are in the Butterfield subdivision. This slide lists the approval standards for a minor development final plat. Staff's assessment of these standards are discussed in more detail in the staff report. And there are 4 proposed conditions. As Commissioner Thomas mentioned, the condition number 1, the approval of the SIA has been satisfied, so now we are down to 4 proposed conditions. Condition number 1, prior to recordation of the minor development final plat, slope easements for the rear line Stroh Road right-of-way as depicted on the plat exhibit shall be accepted by the board and recorded by separate doc instrument. Condition number 2, prior to recordation of the minor development final plat, utility easements for Pinery water and sewer and wastewater, as depicted on the plat exhibit, shall be recorded by separate instrument. Condition number 3, prior to recordation of the minor development final plat, technical corrections to the plat exhibit shall be made to the satisfaction of Douglas County. And condition number 4, all commitments and promises made by the applicant or applicant's representative during the public hearing and or agreed to in writing and included in the public record have been relied upon by the Board of County Commissioners in approving the application. Therefore, such approval is conditioned upon the applicant's full satisfaction of all such commitments and promises. Section 604.08 of the subdivision resolution sets forth the parameters for the board's decision on minor development final plat requests. And this concludes staff's presentation. I am available for questions, or if you'd like to hear, the applicant does have a presentation if you'd like to see that at this time.
Thank you, Mike. Questions for staff?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I do have 2 questions for staff. Mr. Pesca, thank you for that presentation. Just wanted to go to the referral comments. We did receive correspondence on the 16th it looks like September from Cherry Creek Basin Water Quality Authority with regard to Control Regulation 72 and best management practices. It looks like the applicant indicated they're required to meet the authority's construction and post-construction BMPs. Is there anything additional that would be required?
I do not believe so, no, Commissioner.
Okay, thank you. And then I also saw in the referral comments that Excel had written us with regard to some modifications, and the response from staff is that there would not be any changes to its standard utility easement certificates on the plat. Can you explain that in further detail?
Do you want to take that one, Jenna?
Jeanette Baer for staff. So they've been asking for certain language on our plat for as long as I've been here, but we generally don't put those notes on our plat. We just accept the general purpose utility easements with our dedication statement, and it's worked out just fine. So I don't know why they continue to ask for the note, but we don't add it.
Okay. Thank you for that. I guess I was curious to know as well why they continue to ask for that, and then what our position is from a planning perspective on that.
You know, I'm not sure, but we could certainly reach out to them and maybe ask that question.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you, Madam Chair.
You're welcome. Questions? Mr. Pasica, will Mr. Connolly be making a presentation? Thank you. Mr. Connolly?
Good afternoon, Commissioners. While Mr. Pasica is pulling up the presentation, I'll go through the normal course of giving you last name and address. Brian Connolly with Otten Johnson, Robinson, Neff, and Reganetti. Last name is spelled Connolly, and our business address is 950 17th Street, Suite 1600 in Denver. Thank you, Commissioners, for being here and for hearing this application. As you all know, or I guess as 2 of you know, you were here, I guess it was about a year and a half ago, when we were here for the PD amendment, which allowed these 9 lots to be developed, as well as the lots in Planning Area 13. So our presentation today is going to be short and focus only on the 9 lots that are subject to this application. Next slide, please. So what I'd like to do is just give a little bit of background, remind you of kind of where we're at with this project, talk a little bit about our public outreach, and then just show you a few more maps and whatnot to orient you. But mostly my goal here is to answer any questions that you have. Next slide. So as you know, we are requesting approval of 9 additional lots on the north side of Preservation Trail, along with the relocation of the Stroh Road right-of-way, which we negotiated as part of the amendment to the plan development. Next slide. Just a reminder or introduction to the team, and I think it's also important to keep all the parties straight here. That was a question that came from the Planning Commission. So the owner of the property is the Reata South Metropolitan District. I am here on behalf of Betts Lake LLC, which is a subsidiary of Arendale Holdings that is the master developer of Colorado Golf Club. The golf club itself is a private membership organization and is separate from any of these entities, and then there's also a separate homeowners association as well. In terms of the team that has worked on this project, I am here in the capacity of doing planning and land use work on behalf of the applicant. David Brem is here, who is the landscape architect and land planner on this. Rick Moore from Manhard Engineering is here as a civil engineer. And then we had LSC and ERO do traffic and environmental respectively. Any of us are available to answer questions today. Next slide, please. So again, as a reminder, I know two of you were here for the plan development hearing in October of 2019. We received your approval of the plan development amendment that allowed these additional 9 lots in planning area 1 on the north side of Preservation Trail, as well as 55 additional lots in planning area 13, which we've called the Village. That is the subject of a separate subdivision application, which we hope will come before you sometime in the near future, but that's not part of the discussion today. That amendment also approved relocating the Stroh Road right-of-way and also included developer commitments around trail construction and dedication of a permanent open space easement, which Mr. Pasica showed you in his presentation. And as a reminder, the purpose behind this project is to create some additional fiscal stability for the Reata South Metropolitan District. As you probably remember, this is a district that has faced some challenges over the course of the last decade or two, and so therefore adding additional units in the community has been part of an effort to stabilize the district, as well as to continue the high quality of development in Colorado Golf. These lots will be subject to the same set of the declaration of covenants, conditions, and restrictions that the rest of Colorado Golf Club is subject to. Next slide, please. So just to orient you, again, I know Mr. Pasica shared this. The 9 lots are along Preservation Trail, really on the west side of the project. This map represents really the whole Colorado Golf Club project. As a reminder, over 70% of the project is open space, and some of which is encompassed within the golf course, which is what you see kind of on the bottom of the screen. Next slide, please. Our public outreach process, as you probably remember, the two of you who were here for the plan development hearing, there was a lot of public involvement in the zoning effort for this. Our public outreach has continued as part of that. We have continued to keep the community apprised of what we're working on. We've had meetings with the Colorado Golf Club community. We have reached out to the Butterfield HOA, haven't heard really much of anything from the Butterfield HOA on this particular application, but have done our best to keep them apprised of what we're working on. And we've continued to have those kind of ad hoc in person or this day and age Zoom or phone conversations with people who are interested in what we're working on and trying to keep them apprised of what we're doing. Next slide, please. And this is just a representative list of the various organizations and stakeholders that we've worked with, and I won't belabor this one, so next slide, please. And then just a reminder of the development plan, the 9 lots. We've got the Kinney Creek Trail connection shown there on the west side. The Kinney Creek Trail connection, I would just point out, is also going to allow the Kinney Creek Trail, which runs across the southern part of the property, to connect to the future Stroh Road Trail, which this developer is also committed to providing as part of the Village project in the future, and that trail will run along Stroh Road and go up to Hilltop Road, and so provide trail connectivity really all the way through this project and through the adjacent area. You see the 9 lots. What you see right down the middle is there's a sewer easement that is held by the Pinery. Part of that line is going to be relocated, but that'll be a tract that'll run right through the middle of the 9 lots. And as Mr. Pasica noted, the lot sizes run from about 2.5 acres to about 3.5 or 3.8 acres, I guess it is. Next slide, please. Here are the approval standards. We've put forth our position on the approval standards in our application packet. I know that staff has also analyzed them in the staff report, so I won't go into detail on these, but certainly if you have any questions on the approval standards, we'll be happy to answer them. Next slide. So with that, that concludes our presentation. We certainly respectfully request your approval today and would love to answer any questions that you have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Connolly. Any questions for Mr. Connolly?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Mr. Connolly, as always, for the thorough presentation and certainly the history and experience you bring to this particular project. You indicated you have not received any further relevant community input or public input from citizens or HOAs.
So we've received input. We
Yeah.
certainly, as part of the, so the normal course of communicating with the Colorado Golf Club community, we have had a number of conversations. It's mostly in the form of questions about kind of what's planned. I think, obviously this, our prior discussion about the PD amendment sort of set a lot of the parameters of what we're doing today. But certainly have received questions and, people have asked about, conformance to the Colorado Golf design guidelines and things like that. So we've responded to those. We did, I personally emailed the board president in Butterfield a couple of times just to keep them apprised of what's going on. Didn't hear anything back. So, I know that there are a couple residents of Butterfield who are here in the room today, but we didn't hear anything back. So.
Okay, thank you. And I'll ask the same question of staff, I suppose, if we've received any additional public comment other than what we're probably about to receive today. Okay, thank you, Mr. Pesica. Thank you, Madam Chair.
I'd like to ask the applicant to go back 2 slides, please. I think it's 2 slides. Okay, so the future Stroh Road, what you guys are doing with the realigning what this plating does to realign the future Stroh Road essentially shifts it north. I saw in the staff presentation, the current design has it cutting through the middle of the lots. Is that what I saw? Is that what I understand?
So there's a current dedicated right-of-way which runs right through the middle of where these lots are. So as part of this project, and again, the PD sort of set out very specifically the parameters for where the road would be located. But as part of this project, what we're doing is shifting the future alignment to the north. So the current, I think you were saying it correctly, but just to be clear for everyone, that the current Stroh Road will sit north of where the realigned Stroh Road will be, but we've shifted the future right-of-way further north, closer to the current Stroh Road.
Got it. And that current Stroh Road is represented in this graphic. It's the road shown to the north or above the dotted line.
That's right. So what is represented on here as Stroh Road is the current Stroh Road that you can go out and see and drive on. What's represented as future Stroh Road is the realigned future right-of-way.
Okay. Second question for you. Can I ask you to restate the lot size of the 9 lots you see here? The average you gave can I ask you to restate what those lot sizes are going to be about?
Yeah, so, and actually all of the individual lot sizes, it's hard to see on this screen, they're all represented there down in the right-hand corner. So the smallest one is 2.5 acres and the largest one is 3.8 acres.
Okay. I don't know if the applicant would like to answer this question or needs to send it to staff, but it looks like the driveways and homes represented north of the current Stroh Road, are those indeed access drives from Stroh Road to residences?
Yeah, so those driveways come off of the current Stroh Road, and so as part of this project, or well, I guess I should say not this subdivision project, as part of the county's project when the future Stroh Road is constructed, where you see kind of the future Stroh Road and what's marked as Stroh Road, where they come together, there would essentially be a T intersection there, and so that would become an access road. So if you live in Butterfield or you want to drive into Butterfield up Sundown Trail, you would turn left off of future Stroh Road onto what is labeled as Stroh Road, and then go up into Butterfield. So those driveways that come off the north side of Stroh Road will not access directly onto the future Stroh Road.
Okay. Of those looks like, home homes that I see to the north of the current Stroh Road, what are those sizes? What's the size of acreages there? Because those don't look like quarter-acre lots.
I would have to go back and look. I think they range, my recollection is they range, the homes in Butterfield are 2 to 5 acres. They're also large lots.
Happy to ask for clarification from staff. Okay. Okay. That concludes my questions right now.
Thank you. Mr. Connolly, there were 5 conditions. Now there are 4. Do you agree to those 4 conditions?
We do.
Thank you. I have no other questions. Is there anyone else that's going to present on your behalf?
Nope.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I'm going to open this up. I will say one other thing. Commissioner Layton had asked about other input that we had received, and we, commissioners, did receive an email that had several people supporting Rayada. And so I just want to let everybody know that we did get all of these that were submitted. So we did get that additional information. So thank you. I'm going to open this up for public comment. So if anybody in the room would like to express comments about this project, please come up to the lectern, give us your name, spell your last name, and give us your address.
My name is Randy Eldridge. I live at 8060 North Sundown Trail, right on the corner of Stroh and Sundown. And for your...
Excuse me, would you spell your last name, please?
Yes, it's Eldridge. And just for public knowledge, all the lots in Butterfield are 5-acre lots. I would like to ask Mr. Conley particularly, is there a change from the last property or PD amendment to bringing Stroh Road, the proposed bypass, closer to Stroh Road now?
So after a public comment, the applicant can answer all the questions.
Okay.
Are there any other questions you'd like to leave?
And I'm not sure that the HOA at Butterfield was alerted to this. So I certainly didn't hear about it, so thank you.
Okay, I will just add that in our packet, it indicates that courtesy notices were mailed to abutting property owners and referral response requests were sent to the Butterfield HOA along with several other HOAs, just for your information. Thank you, Mr. Eldridge. Anybody else who would like to come and talk to the commissioners about this application?
Yes,
Hello,
hi,
sir.
My name is Russ Eldor, E-L-D-O-R-E. I live at 8423 North Sunburst Trail, further north in Butterfield. And I just want to know, I was on the board, HOA Butterfield, when we did this a couple years ago. And I want to know what is different, because we went through a lot of meetings and whatnot, and we thought you were pretty satisfied with what was finally approved. And there was the idea that we weren't going to come back and throw more at us. So I thought 9 homes were approved prior. Did you increase the lot size? Why do we have to move Stroh Road now? And that's really close to Butterfield and all the things that when this golf club was first allowed, and we were major in that because we helped them get involved here and get that property years and years ago. Why the changes again? Are we adding lots? Are the lots bigger? And that road's really close to Stroh Road. And I guess I do understand that Stroh still is not going to change at all. There's a cul-de-sac at the end. Those driveways still have access. I think I understood that from the question there. But why are we coming back and just moving and tweaking things a little bit here? Okay? Is that fair?
Thank you, Mr. Eldorf. Is there anyone else in the room who would like to address the commissioners on this topic? I don't see anyone coming forward. I'm going to ask Ms. Dunning, is there anyone online who's indicating they would like to speak on this item?
Thank you, Commissioner. I have a Charlene Sloan raising her hand. Charlene, you are unmuted. Go ahead.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Charlene Sloan, S-L-O-A-N, and I live at 8445 Whitez Court, Parker, Colorado. I am the president of the Riata South Metro District Board, which consists of 5 community members. I would like to express our full support for the current amendment, Fourth Amendment minor development from our board. Our board is in full support of this. We support the project for many reasons and have for several years during its development. This project is certainly compatible with our existing community, and it's a natural expansion of Colorado Golf Club on the north side of Stroh Road. And it will seamlessly blend in with the current 12 existing homes located, homes or lots located across the street from the project. As Brian mentioned, the proposed project will also be subject to the same design guidelines and covenants that have guided the development of all of our homes in the Colorado Golf Club. And it certainly would be compatible with our existing community. We have worked very hard in the current purchase and sale agreement to make sure that this happens. The building height limitations, design standards, and placement of residential lots will minimize any of the conflict with surrounding land. The project, as Brian also said, will include additional benefits to our community in the form of the Kinney Creek Trail expansion or extension, which a lot of people have been very eager to have, and also some drainage improvements. We've been very impressed during the whole process of the outreach process that Brian again has indicated, both with neighbors within our community and our neighboring communities and the Colorado Golf Club itself. It has been, I think they've done a yeoman's duty as it relates to trying to communicate and be transparent. As again, Brian mentioned, and we reviewed last year during the rezoning process, certainly this will provide fiscal benefits to our community, including revenue to our metro district from the sale of the property, additional annual district operating fees, and additional yearly property tax revenues from new homes. This will certainly allow us to maintain our infrastructure and continue our high level of services to this community. We are, for these reasons, we, the board, are in full support of this proposed project, and we ask you, the commissioners, to support the proposed application, if you will. We thank you so much for your time and consideration.
Thank you, Mrs. Sloan. Ms. Dunning, is there anyone else online raising their hand?
Thank you, Commissioner. I have no other hands raised.
Thank you. With that, I will close public comment, and I will give the applicant the opportunity to answer the questions that were asked of them during public comment.
Thank you, Commissioner Thomas. We'll be happy to answer those questions. I'll first start with Mr. Eldor's question, and I think that probably requires just a brief explanation of the process that we've gone through to make these lots a reality. So, what Mr. Eldor is referring to in terms of the negotiated outcome and the discussions that we had about a year and a half ago, that was as part of the PD amendment process. So that's the zoning process which establishes the conditions for future subdivision of these lots. So what we're doing here today is requesting the board's approval of the actual subdivision that will create these lots and then allow construction on these lots to go forward. So nothing about the application that anyone heard in October of 2019 has changed. What we are doing is bringing that exact same project that we discussed in 2019 as a matter of zoning. We're bringing that forward as a subdivision plat to allow these lots to be created. So that's probably a good then transition into the question that Mr. Eldridge asked about the location of Stroh Road. So as part of the 2019 PD approval, we agreed that the Stroh Road right-of-way could be shifted from the current Stroh Road as far as 175 feet into the Riata South property to allow for the relocation of the road. So what we are doing as part of this application here today is, pending your approval, is dedicating that 175 feet all the way along the south side of Stroh Road to allow for the construction of the future Stroh Road. That future Stroh Road is a county capital improvement project, so the actual design of where those 2 lanes will go is fully within Art Griffith's, I think he was here, his court. And so to the extent that he wants to speak to any of the technical matters associated with the design of the road, I would defer to him to do that. But long story short, I guess in response to both neighbors' questions, nothing about the application from what we discussed in 2019 is changing. This is just the application process that formalizes what we decided in 2019. I will, just to speak to the question about the board of Butterfield receiving notice, like I said, I personally emailed the board president twice. Once was the prior board president, Maureen Schmutzler, who was involved in 2019, gave her a heads up that this application was coming and let her know kind of the particulars of these 9 lots. And then also sent an email to Kelly Fullerton, who I understand is the current board president, and received no response. And as Commissioner Thomas, you noted, the county also sent notice to the Butterfield HOA as well, and we didn't receive any response. So just thought I'd clarify that point as well.
Thank you. Any more questions for Mr. Connolly?
I have no further questions.
Thank
Great.
you.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Yes. So we've had public comment. It's been closed. The applicant has answered the questions that were brought forward. Is there any deliberation?
Madam Chair, I've heard the applicant and public comment as well as the staff report, and in review of the packet of information, the additional correspondence, and the 60301 et sequitur approval standards, I believe that the applicant has met these standards, and I will be in favor.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, this looks pretty straight up to me. I mean, I appreciate the public coming forward to have your questions answered, but I didn't hear any real criticism of what we see here today. As far as, you know, the moving of the right-of-way, thank you for answering my questions along those lines. And no, we'll let Art do the actual pavement plan on that one when it comes time. But I'm in favor of proceeding forward, Madam Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Teal. I appreciate those who came out on a snowy day to come and address the board. It seems like Mr. Connolly and the rest of the staff on this project have been very willing to engage in conversation, and I bet that when this is over, if you ask them questions out in the hall, they're not going to run away from you. I have looked at all of the approval standards, and I also agree that they have all been met, and I will be in support of this project.
Madam Chair, if there's no further discussion, I'll make a motion to approve the Riata South Filing 1 Fourth Amendment Minor Development Plat with the 4 conditions as presented, project file SB 2020-038.
Yeah, I'll second.
I have a first and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, that motion carries. Thank you and congratulations on your project. The next project we have is item B on the public hearing agenda. This is Castle Pines filing 44A, and I imagine that C, the subdivision, will be also, that item will be held at the same time. And for staff, Matthew Jakubowski. Look on page 13 of this packet and see everybody they reached out to on Curtis notices. 13. That'll give you an idea of what they know to do.
Commissioners, this is your host. Matthew is now sharing his presentation.
Thank you, Ms. Dunning.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Matt Jakubowski representing Planning Services. The item before you is the Castle Pines Village filing number 44A minor development. The project number is SB 2020-051. I will also be presenting the associated request for a subdivision improvements agreement intergovernmental agreement, or SIA-IGA. We have Matt Buster of David Evans and Associates on behalf of the applicant. I should mention before I begin the breadth of my presentation that Exhibit 1, which was just brought up to Lance Ingalls, is correspondence that we received from the County Wildfire Mitigation Specialist dated January 25th, as well as the wildfire mitigation plan that the applicant submitted to the Wildfire Mitigation Specialist. This was approved by Wildfire, and that also, and I'll get to it a little later, changes the condition number 1, which was that there be an approved wildfire mitigation plan submitted at the time of the board hearing. The applicant is requesting approval of a minor development plat to subdivide an 18.2 acre parcel into 9 single-family lots, 1 superblock lot, and 1 tract. Single-family lots range from 0.5 acres to 1.1 acres in size. The intent of the minor development process is to create a streamlined review process for the creation of 10 or fewer single-family residential lots. The minor development process begins with the submittal of an application. Following comments by staff, the request is forwarded to referral agencies. At the beginning of the referral period, courtesy notifications of an application in process are sent to abutting landowners. Staff further analyzes the request, and the applicant is provided the opportunity to address any issues identified through the referral period. Public notice is provided, and the request is heard by the Planning Commission prior to consideration by the board. During the process of review, staff received public comments primarily from neighbors to the north of the site on Oxford Peak Lane regarding future development of the proposed superblock lot, which is known as Lot 10, or to be proposed as Lot 10 on the exhibit. They are concerned about connection of Oxford Peak Lane through that lot. However, I should mention that no connection or subdivision is proposed at this time. The applicant will have to go through a future subdivision process for Superblock Lot 10, so I just wanted to mention that to clarify that there was a concern, but it's not exactly pertinent to the application that is proposed at this time. An additional resident expressed concern regarding the impact of development on wildlife movement, which the applicant responded to, and that's located within the staff report. The same resident provided additional comment, which was provided to you in a memo just this past Friday. And going back to the Planning Commission step in the minor development process, on January 11th, 2021, the applicant appeared before the Planning Commission and received unanimous approval 6-0. There were no members of the public that spoke at that hearing. The site is located and outlined in blue here on the slide within the northeast corner of the Castle Pines Village Plan Development, west of Happy Canyon Road. Zooming in on the aerial, the site is adjacent to single-family development, which is already developed to the north and east. The Oxford Peak Lane neighborhood is just to the north, and you can see that it stubs into the north part of the project area. Land south and east is undergoing subdivision, so you can see to the east that there's some platted lot boundaries, and there's a road called Golden Bear Lane, which was dedicated as part of the subdivision to the east, Filing 41. During the construction of Filing 41, Golden Bear Lane will be constructed. To the southwest of the site, there's a large superblock lot, which the board saw in December and approved for just a split of that superblock lot, and that would have to go through further subdivision down the line as well. So that's basically along the frontage of Country Club Drive, but just west of the site. As background, the Castle Pines Plan development was approved in 1984 for approximately 2,800 lots, of which approximately 1,900 lots are currently platted. The site is an unplatted parcel comprised of 4 planning areas, R20, R39, R41, and Community Open Space, or COS6. The proposed density is 2 dwelling units per acre, which is under the actual allowed zoning in this case. COS 6 will be designated as open space with the future platting of Superblock Lot 10. Before you is the minor development plat proposed, which includes 9 single-family residential lots along the future Golden Bear Lane. Superblock Lot 10 that I mentioned is to the west of those lots and is just a little over 12 acres. There's one tract A, which is within the far northeast corner of the site, which will include easements for the Castle Pines Metropolitan District Number 1 for roadway, well, and waterline infrastructure, but also include some easements for a double cul-de-sac related to the Filing 41 subdivision I mentioned. During that process, because of the neighbors on Oxford Peak Lane, the applicant in that process actually agreed to an emergency access gate so that there would not be any through traffic. A portion of that cul-de-sac there at that point is within Tract A. So I wanted to mention that. And again, Superblock Lot 10 requires future platting, during which time the community open space will be dedicated and any possible roads or other infrastructure would be reviewed and evaluated at that time. There are proposed easements, 15 feet drainage and 15-foot utility easement along the frontages of the lots in Tract A and the rear of lots 7 and 8. Drainage and sanitary easements from the Castle Pines Metropolitan District along the back of several of the lots will be recorded by separate instrument prior to recordation of the overall plat itself. There's also a temporary construction access easement along the frontage of lots 1 through 9 in Tract A for the construction of Golden Bear Lane, which will eventually terminate when that's constructed. And as standard practice, the county will accept general purpose utility easements and secondary drainage easements by the plat. Following our site photos, this is a view from Country Club Drive. So if looking straight ahead, it's roughly through the middle of the site. This view looks east through Superblock Lot 10 from Country Club Drive. So almost a direct east to west line, again, is right through the middle of the site. This photo looks through the site from the end of Oxford Peak Lane. Finally, this photo looks west through the property from the approximate location of future Golden Bear Lane. The approval standards for a minor development request are set forth in section 603 of the subdivision resolution and listed on this slide. Staff's assessment of the approval standards are discussed in detail within pages 11 through 13 of the staff report. Staff has evaluated the minor development in accordance with Article 6 of the subdivision resolution. Should the board find that the approval standards for the minor development are met, the following proposed conditions should be considered for inclusion in the motion. And as I mentioned in the beginning, as the applicant submitted a wildfire mitigation plan to the county wildfire mitigation specialist and the wildfire mitigation specialist approved that plan, the proposed condition number 1 is revised to remove the stipulation that that plan be submitted for approval. And to just make extra clear, we propose that the word wildfire be added to the second sentence so that condition number 1 would read, wildfire mitigation shall be accomplished in accordance with the approved plan. Proposed condition number 2, prior to approval of the minor development final plat, the associated SIA IGA for the subdivision shall be approved by the board. Condition number 3, prior to recordation of the minor development plat, or final plat, Castle Pines Metropolitan District drainage and sanitary easements shall be recorded by separate instrument and noted on the plat exhibit. Condition number 4, prior to recordation of the minor development final plat, technical corrections to the plat exhibit shall be made to the satisfaction of Douglas County. Condition number 5, prior to the issuance of any building permits for lots 1 through 7, Golden Bear Lane shall be constructed in accordance with the SIA IGA for the Castle Pines Village filing number 41 dated January 28, 2020. Condition number 6, prior to the issuance of any building permits for occupiable structures within lot 10, additional subdivision application and approvals are required. Condition number 7, during construction activity within the development, the applicant, its successors, and assigns shall take all reasonable care to watch for historic resources, paleontological resources, and other cultural history resources, and shall immediately notify Douglas County in the event of such discovery. Condition number 8, during construction activity within the development, the applicant, its successors, and assigned shall conduct a burrowing owl study if any earth moving will take place between March 15th and October 31st. And condition number 9, all commitments and promises made by the applicant or the applicant's representative during the public hearing and or agreed to in writing and included in the public record have been relied upon by the Board of County Commissioners in approving the application. Therefore, such approval is conditioned upon the applicant's full satisfaction of all such commitments and promises. Section 604.08 of the subdivision resolution sets forth the parameters for the board's recommendation of a minor development request. And now to the SIA-IGA portion of the presentation. The SIA-IGA for the Castle Pines Filing 44A is a three-party agreement, as noted on this slide. The purpose of this agreement is to provide for the completion of improvements associated with Filing 44A, including storm drainage facilities and water and sewer infrastructure. Public Works Engineering has reviewed and approved all associated engineering reports, studies, and plans, and the Attorney's Office has reviewed and approved the form of the SIA-IGA. This concludes the presentation on the Filing 44A plat and SIA-IGA. This is a little unique in that two motions are necessary from the board for first the SIA-IGA and second for the minor development final plat. This concludes my presentation. We have Matt Buster from David Evans and Associates here. So if you have any questions of me, I'm happy to answer those, but Mr. Buster does have a presentation of his own. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jacobowski. Any questions for staff?
Thank you, Madam Chair. No doubt a priority for the county and this board around wildfire mitigation. I just wanted to go back to the original filing application, the Project File SB 2020-051. Condition 1 talks about the wildfire mitigation plan, and you showed us a red line. So in terms of the correspondence that we received from Mr. Wagenlander from David Evans and Associates regarding the Castle Pines Village filing and their wildfire mitigation plan, did you have any additional comment on that, and does this red line reflect the additional commentary we received today?
For one, this condition reflects the way that we see this at this point. The wildfire mitigation specialist requested the applicant specifically provide an addendum to the Filing 41 wildfire plan, which perhaps Mr. Buster can add a little more information, but the Filing 41 application has more extensive tree cover and issues that were discussed and implemented or recommended as part of that larger plan. So as the applicant worked with our wildfire mitigation specialist, it was determined that the 3-page document that was submitted was sufficient as an addendum to that existing plan, because much of the Filing 44A area is open meadow with some scrub oak. So basically the January 25th letter from the wildfire mitigation specialist says that it's sufficient what's been provided, and the applicant and the wildfire mitigation specialist will need to work and implement that plan. So, Mr. Buster, maybe I've left something out, but that's how staff sees it.
Great. Thank you, Matt. Good to see you, Mr. Buster. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Any questions? So, Matt, the only question I have is, does this application now have 9 conditions or 8? Is number 1 still a condition?
Number 1 is still a condition, so 9 conditions total.
Thank you. Mr. Ingalls, I see you going for your microphone.
Yeah, just to clarify, number 1 is still a condition. It's just slightly modified by staff. So if you accept the 9 condition, it's as modified at the hearing today.
Thank you, Mr. Ingalls. Good afternoon, Mr. Buster. If you'd like to give us your name, spell your last name and your address, and then please proceed.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Matthew Buster, spelling the last name B-U-S-T-E-R, address 1600 Broadway, Denver, Colorado. I'll just start off with the wildlife issue, and then I'll go through my or wildfire mitigation issue before I jump into my presentation. But the primary reason for the change is due to timing. We just recently, as of a day ago, received approval of a proposed amendment which brings this property into a previous wildfire mitigation study that was done for the property immediately east, filing 41. So it was decided by the wildfire mitigation specialist that it would be just appropriate to use all of the regulations, mitigation measures already spelled out in detail in the filing 41 wildfire mitigation. So what this is just adding this subject property to that old plan. So the mitigation measures recommended in that plan essentially will be adhered to. So anyway, with that, jumping into the presentation, this is roughly lot 4, standing in lot 4 looking north through lots 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. The existing dirt road there is roughly the proposed location of what will become Golden Bear Lane. That Golden Bear Lane property is currently under construction. Permits were just pulled 2 weeks ago. So the filing 41 property that I mentioned will be constructing that roadway, which will provide access to 7 of these lots. The other 2 lots, lots 8 and 9, will be provided access from Lindsay Peak Lane. Next slide. So here you see the proposed Golden Bear Lane on the east. That's the road that's currently under construction. The 7 lots that you see that will access Golden Bear are lots 1 through 7. And then the 2 lots 8 and 9 to the north will take access from Lindsay Peak Lane. So this will come up later in the presentation, but in response to the neighbors to the north concerned with increased traffic volumes on Oxford Peak Lane, an emergency vehicle access gate is installed at the end of Lindsay Peak Lane, and that will limit the 60 lots that you see in the adjacent property and also the 7 lots that I mentioned here from getting access to Oxford Peak Lane. Next slide. So the proposed residential lots, there's 9. They total 5.03 acres with an average lot size of roughly a half an acre, just over a half acre. Those lots range in size, the smallest being 0.37 acres, the largest being 1.18 acres. Next slide. Then the future development parcel that Matt mentioned, lot 10, is a super block, and that will be replatted through separate land use applications in the future. Nothing is proposed, no buildings are allowed on that lot 10 at this time, but that will be planned in the future later down the road. And then next slide is Tract A. And Tract A includes the emergency vehicle access gate that I mentioned, as well as a cul-de-sac on either side of that gate, and also is a site designated as a future potable well site to provide water to the water treatment plant that is roughly 1,000 feet due east of Tract A. Next slide. Here you see in detail the emergency vehicle access gate and the 2 cul-de-sacs. So this was proposed in the filing 41 project immediately east approximately 2 years ago to mitigate the concerns with traffic on Oxford Peak Lane. Just to note for the record, Oxford Peak Lane, per the Castle Pines PD, has always been planned to be a through road connecting to Country Club Drive to the south, but that is not a part of this application. So in order to mitigate residents' concerns, this emergency vehicle gate is proposed essentially in that small neck between the 2 roundabouts, and that will prevent access from all but lots 8 and 9 that you see here on screen. So we feel we've worked with the community to try to mitigate their concerns on Oxford Peak Lane. And then also just a quick reference to the other public comment regarding wildlife. We have quite a bit of wildlife in Castle Pines Village. There's just about every animal you can think of roaming freely: bears, bobcats, deer, elk, wild turkeys, list goes on. But we feel that as a result of our master planning efforts, that's why we have so much wildlife in the community. And we have, community open space parcels, generous community open space parcels planned, and many of them have been implemented. Together with the 2 golf courses that meander through the community, we feel that there is more than sufficient habitat for the wildlife. And with that, next slide, I'll take any questions you may have.
Any questions for Mr. Buster from staff? From commissioners? Sorry.
Towards the end. You're doing great. Mr. Buster, that was an excellent presentation, and thank you for the answer to the question on the wildfire mitigation. I think that satisfies our inquiry there.
I apologize that it's hard to breathe in this thing. So
You're welcome to take it off if you'd like.
Short on air.
It's up to you.
Actually, sir, can you go back a slide, please? So I'm not tracking with what we've heard today on where the emergency access gate is. Is it up on Oxford Peak, or is it placed?
So you see the 2 circles?
Yes, sir.
And then there's a little white access between those 2 circles?
Yes, sir.
There's a gate right in the middle of that white corridor that is an emergency vehicle gate, which is electronically operated it has a fire department access for South Metro Fire. So you cannot drive from one cul-de-sac to the other in either direction.
And then lots 8 and 9 will access from Lindsay Peak Lane and through Oxford Peak Lane.
Correct.
Okay. And the emergency access gate down to the east of, at least to the right in what we're seeing here at the east of Tract A, that's not a subject to this filing.
It is in a roundabout way. The plat note or the plat condition that requires Golden Bear Lane to be constructed before building permits are eligible on lots 1 through 7. There is a subcondition in the filing 41 application that requires the gate and the 2 cul-de-sacs also be constructed at the time that this connection of Golden Bear Lane is made to Lindsay. So domino effect, but it is a requirement essentially.
Okay, that's probably something that, I'm obviously going to need to work with staff on in the future. I hate those. I think those build resentments among neighbors. I'm not a fan of those at all, but I get it. This is probably conditional on it coming before us today, so I'm willing to set that aside. I have no other questions at this time.
Thank you. I was going to ask Mr. Ingalls about this gate and the statute about blocking off public roads. Is this a public road?
It is a private road owned by the Castle Pines Homes Association.
Thank you. I'm going to ask the county attorney for just a minute. Thank you.
I do agree, these are not public roads, these are not county roads. The law you're referring to is counties have no authority to close their roads except for the limited purpose of maintenance and only for a maximum of 90 days per calendar year. From time to time, putting a gate becomes an issue. Has the road been closed to public travel? And I think that's the issue you're concerned about. That would not be implicated here. It could also be avoided even if these were public roads, as the roads are open to travel on each side of the gate, and you can probably get to either side of the gate. So the road is not closed, it's just inconvenient. So we've done that on rare occasions, but in general, we do not gate county roads.
Thank you. And Mr. Buster, I knew those were private roads, but I wanted to get that into the record.
Yeah, and just to reiterate, I mean, we really would not have proposed a gate or these 2 cul-de-sacs if it weren't for the neighbors being concerned with traffic. If you look at our master planning documents, this was never a proposed gate. It was always a connected road. But as a matter of mitigation with the neighboring community, and it was really related to the prior filing 41 subdivision, we agreed to do that.
Thank you. Do you have anything else for the commissioners?
That's all I have.
I have one more question for you. There are 9 conditions on this application. Do you agree to all 9 of those all those conditions?
Yes, and I agree also to the amended condition number 1.
Thank you, Mr. Buster. You may have a seat. I'm going to open this up to public comment. I don't see anybody in the room. I will ask Ms. Dunning. Ms. Dunning, is there anyone online who'd like to address the commissioners on this item?
I have no hands raised.
Thank you. I will then close public comment and bring this back to the board for deliberation.
Madam Chair, after review of the packet and listening to the testimony today, it appears that the approval standards in 603.01 at SEC have been met. So I would be in favor of approving the application today, as well as the SIA.
Thank you.
Yeah, Commissioner, I mean, obviously I expressed my concern with the emergency access gate we see located to the east of Tract A. It does sound like, based upon what the applicant said, that was a prior condition established with filing 41. Therefore, I find no other issues, and so I'd like to make a motion to approve the Castle Pines.
Excuse me.
Yes, ma'am.
We need to do the SIA first.
Well, okay then. Well, let's get that SIA out of here. No sweat. Thank you, ma'am.
Sorry.
No sweat.
Still you.
Oh, so I gotcha. So in that case, let me make a motion to approve a subdivision improvement agreement, intergovernmental agreement between Rivendell UM Land LLC and the Castle Pines Metropolitan District and the Douglas County Board of County Commissioners, project file DV 20-311.
Second.
We have a first and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That motion carries. And I will accept a second motion on item B.
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the Castle Pines Village filing 44-A with the 9 conditions as presented. Project file, 9 conditions as presented and amended. Project file SB 2020-051.
And with my prior comments, I will second.
I have a first and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, and that motion carries. Congratulations, Mr. Buster. And with that, today's public hearing is closed.